wash my soul in the ocean, in the tears of God, I let it go.
Hello my astrology friends, this is Lada from astrolada.com, and today I want to talk a little bit about the strengths of planets. And from Western astrology, we all know the typical strength of planet that we give. If a planet is in its own sign, for example, the Sun in Leo, or in an exaltation, the Sun in Aries, or Venus in Taurus or in Pisces, we say this planet is strong. But actually, ancient astrology had way more factors for judging if a planet is strong or not. They had about 7 factors to see if a planet, how strong it is, and the dignity of the planet was one of the, let's say, just 1/6 of the power. And many times when people look at their horoscope and see, oh, I have Venus in Virgo, my love life is doomed because Venus is Virgo is supposed to be quite difficult. But it's just one of the 6 ways of judging a planet and just the sign of the planet. What if the other 5 ways are actually more positive? Or someone might say, oh, I have my Saturn in Aries or Saturn in Cancer, and this is a very weak Saturn, but that's judging but just by sign. And today I want to talk a little bit about another very important, let's say, dignity or quality of a planet that can really rebalance to some extent a weaker position of the sign or make it even stronger and more positive if the sign position of the planet is already positive. And that's called directional strength. According to ancient astrology, ancient Vedic astrology, but you can apply it in Western astrology, you can apply it nowadays. I only work with methods that I have tested over and over. I've studied Persian, Western, Arabic, Vedic, Babylonian astrology, and always choose the methods that are most practical, the simplest, and that really give results. I test them, and the ones that I see work, that's what I want to teach also in my course that is coming in May the 5th. It will be 6 or May the 4th, 6 weeks. I will teach you how to interpret a natal chart using all the most simple but most effective methods that I have gathered from all types of different astrologists over the last 13 years that I've studied or that I've worked astrology. And I want to teach you those because I believe astrology should be simple, shouldn't be too complicated, and I like teaching simple methods. So learn how to interpret the natal chart with me. If you come and join me, I think there's just a few more days where there's 30% off. So what is the other way of looking at the dignity of a planet? Not so much dignity, but strength. We said that one of the ways is the dignity. I'm not going to talk about it because it's very common. Some planets in certain signs are strong and other signs are considered weaker, but this does not destroy the meaning of the planet. The other things that ancient Vedics looked at, there were other 5 methods, and one of them was how close is the planet to the sun. The closer it was to the sun, the weaker it was. Interesting, because the sun burns it. So basically retrograde planets for them were way stronger than direct planets because retrograde planets means the planet is furthest away from the sun. So retrograde Saturn, Jupiter, or even Venus and Mars and Mercury, yes, they have certain difficulties, but they increase the power of the impact of the planet and the importance of the planet in your life. That was another method, one of the methods. Another way to judge a planet was by its aspects. And of course, we know this in Western astrology as well. Planets that has difficult aspects can create more problems, more problematic area of life. It doesn't mean it's not going to manifest. It just will manifest after some obstacles and difficulties. Overcome some psychological reworking within yourself. And then another very important method that ancient astrologers gave was directional strength of the planets. What is that? Each planet, according to them, prefers a direction. It's the closer to its direction, it is northwest, east, south. The closer a planet is to this direction, the more powerful a planet becomes. So it's like dignity, as if its dignity grows. So even if its dignity in the natal chart is weak, for example, as we said, Venus in Aries, like in the West, we call it weak. But if Venus is close to the direction where it feels good, it becomes stronger. It's not just gonna give negative things. So let's start with all the 7 planets. In ancient astrology, it's only the 7 planets that were counted. Let's start with the sun. And let's say this is someone who has Capricorn ascendant, This is the beginning of the chart. So the sun would be strongest in the 10th house. Or in Western astrology, it's called the south direction. So if you see the sun of a person, no matter what the ascendant is, whatever it is, but if you see it at the top of the chart, close to the midheaven, MC, the 10th house cusp, the closer it is, the better. But that's the south direction. The sun gets a lot of directional strength. And even if it's in Libra, which is considered a weak sign position for it, it still gains way more power and ability to manifest in the life of a person as fame, as authority, as respect, as lasting fame and recognition of some sort. And success, worldly success. This is what the sun gives. So even if it's in a weak sign or with difficult aspects, as long as it's into the direction of the south, which is the top of the chart, it gains power. So it can kind of compensate for the weakness of the sign or the weakness of the hard aspects. And imagine if the sun is in a sign it loves and it's at top of the chart in the south direction again. So it doesn't have to be exactly in the 10th house. It can be in the 9th if the midheaven is there, or in the 11th, but as long as it's closer to the midheaven, and as the closer it is to this top of the chart, the highest position, midheaven or 10th house as we call it, the more directional strength it has, so it's more easy to manifest the good things of the sun. And of course, the sun has the least directional strength directly above at midnight. This is the time we call midnight, where basically the sun is set, So even if you have a beautiful sun there in strong sign, say it's in Aries, it's not going to manifest. You're not going to have as many opportunities to create your kingdom and to be noticed and to be respected and to rule. The sun is the planet that rules, to rule your life, to be respected, to be a boss, to be famous, to achieve big things, to create your dreams and goals. So you're not going to be directed, or you're not going to direct yourself too much to use this powerful energy of the sun in Aries to create your life in a more visible way as much. But of course, the dignity of the sign will make it strong for vitality, for health, but not so much for the other solar things. So that's about the sun. The sun in the 10th house, or around the 10th. The further away it goes from the 10th house, the more directional strength it loses. And when it goes to the north position, which is the bottom of the chart, it loses the most directional strength. So it's one of its ways to judge it is weakened. Hopefully it will be strengthened by better aspects, or being in one of the signs it likes, like fire signs. So it's going to, or, it's one of those things. Then Mars is the next planet we want to check. Again, Mars is strong in the south, which means, again, the top of the chart. The closer your Mars is to the top of the chart, to the midheaven or the 10th house, the more you are able to manifest the martial qualities more often in your life, which is, Mars is the general, to be initiative, to be self-starting, to be motivated, to be driven, to be competitive. Even if Mars is in a weak sign, Mars's weak signs are considered when it's in, when it's in Taurus, for example, or when it's in, it can be very weak in Virgo or Gemini, whatever. If it's in a weak sign, but still it's close to the midheaven, the closer it is to this top of the chart, you have more opportunity to manifest Mars, to be driven, ambitious, to go after what you want, to have more successes through Mars. And Mars rules real estate, to be successful in competitive businesses, in sports, and so on. But if Mars is at the bottom of the chart, which is north, where it doesn't like it, it has zero directional strength, so close to the IC, or in the 3rd house, or in the 4th or 5th, it's at the bottom, it's harder to manifest. It's almost like your drive is less visible, your ambition is less visible, you don't use your ambition to achieve things out there in the world. And usually it manifests in the second part of life, because the lower part of the horoscope here manifests after 42 onwards, the last part of your life. Actually, in my course, I'll be teaching how to see when a person will be busiest, when a person will be most prominent, when the most important things and loves and successes will happen in their life, just by looking at the natal chart. There are ages here that you can see. So people with Mars with low directional strength, which is not on top, people that have it on top or closer to the top usually tend to succeed early in life, and the Sun as well. They tend to be one that by the age of 30 they are successful somehow in whatever direction, and they know what they want. Mars is to be hungry and to know what you want and go after it. So is the Sun, to have a clear vision. And the further away it is from the Sun and Mars, from their directional strength, maybe success comes later. And as I said, the bottom of the chart is much later in life. One part is even after 50, another part is after 40, But you can usually say such people will be more successful later in life, but still it doesn't show as much their power, their directional strength, their ambition. Then we can look at Venus. Let's see. Venus is known to be strong when it's in the north. And of course, the north is the bottom of the chart. Say if this is your ascendant, the closer it is to the IC, the fourth house cusp, or the fourth sign from the ascendant. So the third, the fourth, the fifth, it has stronger directional strength, Venus. So even if your Venus is weak, like in Virgo, Venus having directional strength in the fourth house will compensate. Yeah, you still show the Venus in Virgo qualities, whatever it is, self-critical about their beauty and so on. But there will be compensating powers. The good things will also manifest that Venus being with directional strength in the north, which is the bottom of the chart. And what would be those Venusian powers that you can have more easy access to? Well, a bit happier marriage, more satisfaction at home and family, because Venus is the planet of pleasure and access to pleasures and self-love and the good things you receive from outside. Things that, love from others, appreciation from others, money, the external things, good food. It's not the inner joy and wisdom that you can self-generate this happiness. It's happiness that comes from outside. So you have more access to those things when Venus is in the fourth house. And usually tends to make people a bit happier emotionally, a bit, emotionally more comforted, and my Venus, for example, is in Aries. It's very weak in Aries. I'm kind of always hungry for our external things, but it's at the bottom of my chart. So it has given me emotional happiness, because this is what Venus is, to give happiness, kind of more like of the material satisfaction, and a nicer and more ability to have better relationships as well. So, and especially imagine if you have Venus in Taurus in the fourth house. That's incredibly powerful. Venus in its own sign, with directional strength. Such person will be incredibly lucky with a marriage. If you have both the sign and the directional strength good, then you can expect a lot more nicer things there. Everything that Venus gives, art, beauty, it says to give. When Venus is in the fourth or closer to the fourth, to give, at the bottom of the chart, to give better body, attractiveness, all the things that Venus tends to give. Okay, sorry, my throat is dry a little bit. Then, another planet that we want to look at is the Moon. The Moon, another feminine planet, also has directional strength in the fourth house, or towards the IC. The closer it is to the IC, the more you're going to be to the IC in the fourth house, the fourth sign from the ascendant, the more emotionally stable you're going to be. Even in difficult moments, in crisis, when everyone is losing it, you're like an emotional rock. You're stable, you keep your brain, because the Moon rules the mind, interestingly enough. Not the logical thinking, but the mind. You're thinking over what is the overall feeling within you, and that's dictated by the mind. So these people usually tend to have very clear, the closer it is to the fourth house, they're very more nurturing, they're more stable emotionally, more reliable emotionally. They have those nurturing qualities. For example, I love this example, Maria Montessori, who is created the Montessori method of raising children, where she gives them, a lot of freedom. That's very maternal. You have to have very powerful moon. When I opened her chart, I was shocked to see that her moon is in Scorpio. And Scorpio is considered the most difficult sign for the moon. It's the opposite of Taurus, but it was at the bottom of her horoscope. It was I think it's conjunct the IC in one of the charts that I saw for her. So it had directional strength. So with this Scorpio, yes, she knows about the ups and downs emotionally. So that's very intense to have the moon in Scorpio, and the hysteria of children and up and down, how they change. But because the moon had directional strength, she knew how to anchor those feelings and to educate others about that. She developed this incredible lunar, and the moon was the most important planet for her because that's what she left as legacy. So if you see a planet in directional strength, this can be one of the things that you do as a career, even if the planet is in a weak dignity, because the directional strength says you have some talent there. So the talent of people with moon in the fourth house is to be very emotionally, the lower it is, not only in the fourth house, but the closer it comes to this north side, the bottom of the horoscope, the more anchored, reliable, nurturing, parental, intuitive a person is, and receptive. And when it's the opposite side, the person is more volatile emotionally. It can give some incredible, public recognition and being loved. Like, I think Princess Diana had moon in the 10th house cusp, I'm not sure. But it's like a loved figure and popular figure still, but emotionally it's not as stable. While at the bottom, it basically it indicates you have more, the closer it is to the lower part, you have more emotional happiness, because the moon rules that. More emotionally balanced. Then, let's see another planet, Mercury. I've lost both Mercury and Jupiter. So I can't show you, but, I'll pretend it's another planet. The first house, the east direction of where the rising is. So around the 12th, the 1st, the 2nd are strong positions for Mercury. And the further away it goes, if it's in the 8th, the 7th, the 6th, it doesn't mean it's negative there, but it doesn't manifest as easily those mercurial qualities. And people with Mercury close to the ascendant or close to the east, they would be much faster. They would even people, I've seen people with Mercury in the 7th house really strong, that they're very witty, but they'll not often show it. They'll not often, very witty, very fast thinking, very good communicators, but they'll not often be directed to use that mercurial energy in their life. They'll not use it as often to promote themselves or to achieve whatever they want. This is how you can see it, But Mercury around the first houses, again, one of the best lawyers I've seen have this position, very mercurial, great managers, great communicators. And one of my best friends says Mercury in Gemini conjunct the ascendant. She's the wittiest person. Everyone knows her for that. She should on the spot think of a joke, make everyone laugh, incredible lawyer, incredible spokesperson as well. So all those mercurial qualities of brightness and alertness of the mind, extremely emphasized. Even if your Mercury is in a weak sign, like Cancer, for example, Mercury in Cancer is not considered to be, it's very emotional there, but if it's in the first house, you notice, or around the first house, around even towards the 12th, it has more directional strength for the person to use those mercurial skills in their life, and often they can have like a mercurial career. Then the other planet that is super happy in the first house or around the first house, the direction east, so it doesn't have to be exactly the first house, but the more towards east it is, which is towards the ascendant line, the more powerful it becomes, is Jupiter. So even if you have Jupiter in a difficult sign like Capricorn or Taurus, the earthy signs are not perfect for Jupiter, neither are the air signs so much. But if it's close to the ascendant or around those houses, it has directional strength which can compensate for that, and a person can find themselves in a very Jupiterian role where they're wise, where they have a lot of wisdom connected with the sign Jupiter is in, and they teach it to others, a lot of intuitive understanding, and oftentimes they'll be very lucky. They'll be luckier than if Jupiter is towards the opposite side, towards and they would create their own luck, because Jupiter is the planet of joy, internal self-generated joy. We usually receive it by improving ourselves, self-knowledge, learning about things. But if it depends on receiving it from others, it's not as, as satisfying, because it's not within us. And people that have Jupiter towards the 7th, the 6th, the 8th house, which are more other related, they're kind of more dependent, their joy, on external things and external circumstances. But when it's towards the 1st house, the ascendant, these people veritably find out joy on their own, in a sense that from learning things, from natural gratitude and appreciation that they're cultivating, especially around the 1st houses, through self-growth. The knowledge that they gain expands them and brings a lot of joy and wisdom to them. And then I think the last planet we have is, did we pass them all? Saturn, of course, Saturn. Saturn gains directional strength in the West, which means the opposite side of the horoscope, of the ascendant. So it will be stronger around the 7th house cusp, around the 6th. The closer it is to the West, maybe towards the 8th house, the 7th, the 6th, the more directional strength it has. And Saturn is, if it's in the 7th house, even if it's in a weak sign where it's considered to be negative, like Leo, it will tend to give also a lot of the good Saturnian things in the life of a person. A person can become really, really recognized, respected, especially they keep their promises to others. It's very powerful when Saturn is around the 7th house. On a personal level, it can delay a marriage. It can give some problems with marriage, but when this person finds the right partner, they're loyal to them and they're for life, and they're lasting marriages usually. And usually with business and with others, these people keep up their promise. They're very, they know how to keep their boundaries and dignities, and they're respected by others. And not just by others, they basically have the Saturnian qualities of, responsibility and integrity, the positive Saturnian qualities. And usually they show them to others, they manifest them towards others as well. So even if you see sometimes, Saturn in the 7th house, it will delay a marriage, or it's so bad for relationship, you can though tell to this person that they have strong Saturnian qualities. And they might even be involved in a Saturnian career where there's like supervision of something, organizational abilities to keep things in order, all of those, law and order of any sort is also Saturn. So yeah, this is another way you can assess. The closer it is, not everyone will have Saturn in the 7th, but it might be closer, the closer is to the 7th, the better it is. And so it doesn't have to be exactly in those houses. We're talking direction here. If it's in that direction, towards the west, or if Mercury and Jupiter towards the east, they become stronger. And of course, if they have good aspects and good dignity, that's like some incredible talent planet. But even if they don't, this planet can become a major planet if it has strong directional energy, even if it's in a weak sign or with difficult aspects, to manifest some very positive things in your life. So I'm going to teach you over 30 hours for 6 weeks course on all the best techniques that I figured out over since the year 2003, since I've been learning astrology, 19 years. And if you want to join me, you're welcome. There's still a little bit 30% discount till April 5th. After that, it's going to the full price, because my courses are usually the cheapest online and they give the most material possible. Usually 2-hour course is $200 and mine is 30-hour course for just $200, $250. So I hope you come and join me to learn astrology with me. And yeah, looking forward to share even more short tips for you. Next time I'll show you how I use very simple techniques to predict or to see the life of a person, to answer very complex questions. I'll do this video in a few days. For example, very complex questions like why I don't have motivation, or what should be the direction of my life. with very simple techniques. I believe in simplicity. You should be able to look at the chart and say immediately, this is what your strength is and this is what your weakness is. It shouldn't be some complicated midpoints and whatnot, crazy techniques. The simplest, the most basic, without asteroids, without minor aspects. The important, profound questions are in simple and very straightforward techniques. Thank you so much.